Have you ever been so sure about when two people fell in love, only to realize you were completely wrong? Well, buckle up, because that's exactly what's happening right now with Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun. Fans thought they knew the exact moment their hearts connected, but the truth? It's something completely unexpected. And before we break down every shocking clue, every subtle gesture, every hidden signal you might have missed, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now. Help us get to 1,000 subscribers, because what you're about to hear will change how you see every single interaction between them. Let's set the stage. Most people assume the spark happened during their most famous drama together, when the chemistry on screen was so intense, it felt like something had to be real off-screen too. Every glance, every smile, every unscripted moment became a proof clip for shippers. But according to some eagle-eyed fans and insiders who've been following their journeys long before that show, the real moment happened much earlier. It all started in a completely different setting, one that wasn't part of any romantic drama or official project. It was during an award ceremony, months before they were ever linked professionally. Both were invited, both were in attendance, but they weren't seated together. In fact, for most of the night, they didn't even interact. At least, not in any way that the cameras picked up, until one blink-can-you'll-miss-it moment changed everything. During a segment where the audience was reacting to a heartfelt speech by another celebrity, the camera panned across the crowd. And there, in the background, you can see Lee Min-ho looking in Kim Go-eun's direction. Not just glancing, watching. His usual composed expression softened in a way fans say they've only seen when he's genuinely moved. She wasn't even talking to him. She was laughing with someone else. But that's what made it so telling. It wasn't a staged smile for the press. It wasn't a scripted exchange. It was him seeing her as she truly was, relaxed, genuine, radiant. From that point, subtle interactions began to pile up. Industry events, backstage corridors, small gatherings, moments where they weren't supposed to be the focus, but their proximity, their comfort with each other, started to become undeniable. There's one infamous clip where Lee Min-ho is caught in the background of a press photo, slightly leaning toward Kim Go-eun, almost as if unconsciously drawn in. Fans didn't think much of it at the time, but in hindsight, it looks like a man quietly falling for someone, trying to keep it under wraps. Then came the project that would put them together on screen. This was when the rest of the world caught up to what a small circle had already suspected. The chemistry between them was electric, but not in the way you expect from two actors playing romantic leads. It wasn't overplayed. It was in the micro-expressions, the tiny hesitation before touching her hand, the softness in his gaze when she wasn't looking, the way she seemed more herself around him than she did in other interviews. Fans started dissecting behind-the-scenes footage frame by frame. One moment stood out, a rehearsal scene where the director was giving instructions. Kim Go-eun was listening intently, nodding along, and Lee Min-ho was watching her with this quiet, almost protective smile. When she stumbled over a line during the run-through, he didn't laugh. He didn't tease. He simply reached out, steadying her with a gentle pat on the shoulder, almost imperceptible to the cameras. That touch wasn't in the script. Another clue came from something he said in an interview, not about her directly, but about the kind of person he admires. He mentioned being drawn to people who are honest without trying to impress, and carry warmth like it's part of their nature. Fans immediately linked it to Kim Go-eun, whose down-to-earth personality has always been her trademark. But the real kicker, the moment fans now point to as the exact instant, happened off-camera, during a charity event. Both stars were invited, but this wasn't a glamorous red carpet. It was an afternoon spent visiting children at a hospital. There were no stylists, no scripts, no perfect lighting. Just real, human connection. According to a volunteer present that day, Lee Min-ho arrived looking his usual polished self, but it was Kim Go-eun who transformed the atmosphere. She got down on the floor to play with the kids, laughed openly, listened to their stories. At one point, she was holding a child who was shy around strangers, and Lee Min-ho was standing nearby, watching her. The volunteer said his expression was different, like he was seeing her for the first time in a new light. That's when, as the volunteer described, something shifted in his eyes. From then on, his interactions with her seemed subtly different. More attentive. More careful. Fans noticed in joint interviews that he'd often let her finish speaking without interruption, nodding along with a small smile. In group photos, even when they weren't standing together, his body language often angled toward her. Still, they never confirmed anything. They remained professionals in the public eye. But the fandom was relentless. Entire threads popped up on forums dedicated to that look he gave her at various points, looks that seemed too genuine to be just acting. Some even matched his expressions to earlier points in his career, noting that he rarely looked at co-stars in quite the same way. And then, years later, during a reunion event tied to their past project, they were seated together again. Cameras caught Lee Min-ho making a quiet joke, which made Kim Go-eun burst into unguarded laughter. He looked at her in that same way, soft, admiring, almost a mirror of that very first award ceremony moment. The full circle was complete. Now, here's the thing. Many fans assumed the big falling in love moment would be something dramatic. A grand confession, an intense scene, a whispered exchange on set. But what's emerging from all these tiny pieces is something much more subtle, and perhaps more romantic. It wasn't about a single kiss or scripted embrace. It was about watching someone in their most authentic moments and realizing, quietly, that they're the one. Whether or not they're together now, that's up for endless speculation. But one fact remains. The moment he fell for her, if he truly did, wasn't in front of the world. It was in a stolen glance, in the way she existed without trying to impress anyone, in the warmth she carried naturally. And that, in its own way, is far more powerful than any scripted romance could ever be. Fans will continue to debate it. The forums will keep dissecting photos. And maybe someday, they'll tell the real story themselves. Until then, all we have are these glimpses, quiet, fleeting, but unforgettable. And if you look closely, you might just see what so many have already spotted. The moment Lee Min-ho fell for Kim Go-eun,